skills, he will show us his deal-centric approach of how to solve this issue. A big applause for Christopher. Welcome.
Thank you. So, we believe we've found maybe the B2B world's best kept secret. And we call it the rainmaker dependency. And you might think that that is a bad thing, but I will show you a different perspective on it. So, and think about these 4 criteria. Most people, when they hear mega deals, think mega amounts. We thought the same when we did the research and wrote the book. So when you read the book, I hope you will, I know some of you have, we talk about $10 million and above. But in the last few years, we realized it's not the amount. It's actually these 4 criteria. So these 4 criteria are switching the way you go to market from marketing, then sales, into what we call orchestration. And the first one is your deals are anchored cross-hierarchy. And the second one, you need to get several functional areas along to sign the deal. And the third one, you have a relative complex offering. I've heard some of the earlier speakers talking about the length, the time it takes to onboard a new salesperson. That is kind of a measurement on both the complexity of your offering, but also the fourth one, which is the complex environment. So the complex environment can be described more detailed as you're entering into a mix of processes, KPIs, surrounding technologies. When you have these 4, you end up with what we call rainmaker dependency. Even the biggest companies in the world have this. So we've asked our neighbor company, Ericsson, we asked 40 people independently, because they have 17 accounts that represent 80% of the revenue. And we asked 40 independently people who are pivotal for these 17 accounts. And the number is 4 people. 4 people in one of the largest organizations in the world are pivotal for the largest deals. And we've seen the same in many hundred companies, both scale-ups that some of you are, but also well-established companies. And I think what most people have done historically is to say, we need to flatten the curve. So both the 17 accounts, we need to spread out the revenue more, and we need to spread out the revenue across salespeople more. We claim, because we have seen 0 exception to this, that is the wrong approach. All big B2B companies we've looked at, and we talked to Fortune 500s, have become big thanks to mega deals, not because of a great long tail. You might say, well, Amazon, no mega deals. You'll have a few examples, and I'm sure that when you look at them in detail, they won't tell you, because this is, as I told you, it's the world's best kept B2B secret. But when you go deep into them, you realize that they have a revenue concentration that is very high. Even Microsoft has it. Okay, so I'll talk about how to do it when you can't flatten the curve and rather see it as a strength. What if that revenue concentration is the way to the big league? And what if we can't, with just sales training, get the second tier of a few hundred people to become the new rainmakers? What if that is the case? And that's what we work with. A few other problems that we see is that the messaging is created in silos, and even worse with individuals. So most companies don't have a coherent story. And I know some of my fellow speakers would agree. Yeah. Also, companies are way too lead-centric. It's like a curse. And I think Serious Decisions and now Forrester did this damage to the market. They created a waterfall model. It's an MQLs, there's a handover, there's an SQL, there's an SDR, etc. And I heard some of the early speakers talking about SDRs. Never send a young SDR with your C-level people ever, ever, ever again. Because as can't remember who, but as the great female here said, you only have one chance. And there's a lack of knowledge how to allocate the marketing funds. I'll come back to that as well. Anyway, you can read this by yourself. So a bit about me. I've written 2 books. The first one is super geeky. It's about how to forecast government budgets. I almost became a math scientist, but the 3 screens with the immense amount of Excels didn't feel like me, personality-wise. But I kind of almost went into that. We managed to reduce the forecasting error on capital gain tax from 80% to 4%. So I was seriously geeky. And the second book is Mega Deals, and as some of you have read, it's kind of more colorful and it's a bit lighter. I'm an owner, co-owner in, this is actually an outdated number, it's 20 companies. I've founded a few companies, a combination of marketing companies, SaaS companies, and sustainability tech companies. And the first case where we implemented the Mega Deals method was at a company called Engman. And by at the same time reducing the go-to-market spend, we managed to go from 3 to 90 million euros in 2 years. And I'll soon tell you why that was a one-time. First thing we've seen when looking at large deals, what are the key things you need to do? And some of you earlier have touched on it. To get the big deals, it's actually 100% needed that what you're offering has a fit with one of the customer's 3 to 5 key initiatives. Why? Because they're sanctioned from the top and they're budgeted. In big companies, and those of you who come from big companies would confirm this, in big companies, the big budgets sit in 3 to 5 key initiatives. So unless you have a fit, and also one of the early great speakers told about disqualification. So if you want to get big orders and see that you don't have a key initiative fit, exit. Exit. You will find pilot money, and selling a pilot is actually worse than losing, because the pilot is normally not very profitable. And the second one is to understand the ecosystem of stakeholders. I'll come back to that one. And number 3 is create consensus at scale. Most people are betting too hard on too few stakeholders. And it's actually, most of the time, with the knowledge that that is the case, but we simply don't have time. We don't have time to work on all the stakeholders. And we don't have time either to do the stakeholder mapping, especially not the rainmakers. And number 4 is to find and develop Trojan horses. A Trojan horse is, you've been one, I'm sure, several times, and you've used them maybe without thinking about it. A Trojan horse is typically a person further down in the organization that is a part of the customer's team. They're pretty silent in the meetings, but they're feeding you with intel on the side. Typically people that are very close to the problem. They even tell you, so Steven, he doesn't like you. And Eva over here, she wants us to work with your competitor. So can you agree with that? You've been a Trojan horse, you used Trojan horses, and in our research, everyone agreed, unless you have them, you will not win the deal. An earlier speaker also talked about never come in when there is an RFP on the table and you have not been involved earlier. This is not in my script, but I picked it up from an earlier speaker. It's worth mentioning because we've seen the same. There's no point offering. If you were not involved earlier, you're out already. Or you have to completely pull down the pants. And the 5th one that you can't see here is about risk mitigation. Many companies are good at mitigating their own risk, but less good at mitigating the customer risk. So proactively mitigating customer risk. And when you have the rainmaker dependency, and this is super important, don't try to train. I mean, we can do that, but it won't solve it. Instead, look at, and I love the Formula 1 picture that Pedro, are you here, Pedro? He's maybe left, flew to the US. So Pedro has this, you remember the Formula 1 picture? Especially the one where they were sitting like this. The thing is, and I think he tried to make that point, if they are not the bottleneck, it's okay. that they're not busy, because their job is to make Verstappen, which is from Holland, not from Belgium, to make Verstappen optimize his job. Their job is secondary. So the first one is take away all unnecessary tasks from the rainmakers. We've seen rainmakers with 2-3 secretaries. One is like a management consultant, just mass producing slides. One is taking care of all the admin. One is kind of an extra admin. And make sure that you scale the rainmakers with video content and marketing coverage. And here, it's better to do that than to add 7 more salespeople where 15% will succeed. It'll take 6 to 18 months to get them up and running. Put marketing money behind your stars. And that's maybe my biggest advice today. And then 3 and 4 is more about how do you optimize the team play and the individual skills? Because my point is not that you cannot learn things. You can totally learn things. But some things are not so easy to learn. So what we did, and you saw the 3 to 90 million euros, that was so encouraging. So I went out, we built a team, we grew the revenue from 0 to 3 million euros very fast. We have clients now from Japan, all the way to California, across Europe, Israel, India, etc. Very cool companies, both scale-ups and the really established ones. But one of the things that happened was that our whole methodology broke the back of our clients. I mean, literally, killed them. It was like doing, here's the Pep Guardiola game plan to a 3rd division team. They're like, poof, and we stressed them to death. So we had to go back to the drawing board and think, how can we get, this law of diminishing returns? You can have a lot of return for the first few hours or the first money. We try to think, how can we create a higher return per time and per euro that is not so disruptive on the customer side, and that makes it scale better? So we have to rethink it and actually take away, so simplify and standardize. And we destroy the whole model. It's there still, but it's for the very few. Because most organizations they just break their back. We combine account-based marketing, social selling, sales execution, and account intelligence for large accounts. And again, our clients' deal sizes can be 50,000 euros and up. So that's the point. We saw it was the cross-hierarchical, cross-functional anchoring and a few other things that were the key, not the amount. And it's actually even more important when you have smaller deal size to be very effective and efficient. And there are kind of 2 choices here. I think you've understood this. You can either grow with more salespeople, and we claim that is not a good path to start with. Get your best people to become airplanes instead. Then you can add more salespeople into working machinery. So one of the other key points I want to make is that the balance between marketing and sales is 50-50. Completely looking at the market, there's very often an underspend into marketing. And the funny thing is that we put marketing money on the long tail. So it's actually even worse than well distributed. It's completely underfunded on the top accounts and the top deals. So the best salespeople are flying solo, supported by humans, but there is no media support. Imagine Ukraine, Russia without the media game. It's the same thing. So we claim that we're Generation 5. We have cracked the code around deal orchestration, which is kind of what comes after account-based marketing. And also another thing on budgeting, there's an overspend on leads and way too little spend on the pipeline and existing clients. We say it needs to be even. And we actually, this is Bora, my colleague, and he was to all these Diamond Club in Amex, and he became a sales leader and later led the sales training team globally for American Express. But he was a high-performing rainmaker, but old school, emailing a lot, calling a lot, chasing people, doing most of the work himself, like really like 11:30 in the evenings. Also supporting inferior salespeople. Oh, the customer asked this. What should I answer? Have you done that? Anyone? So you're kind of ending up doing sales support to slightly worse. But we want to move Bora from being John McClane in Die Hard. He's fighting the terrorist organization on his own. He's all bruised and torn clothes. We want to make him carried by media. And the analogy, we want to make him Iron Man with 30 drones. So he can deal with 30 skyscrapers with the same amount of time, not having to work endless shifts in the evenings, but still with a higher impact. And our method is even more important if you have a finite market, either for your entire pitch or for your larger accounts. It's like, and some of the C-level discussion here that some of you saw was about what happens if a junior SDR is the first person they speak to. And I was for a while, I'm not the CIO type, but I was a CIO for a fashion retailer. So I saw it firsthand, a lot of UK numbers coming in, or Dublin, like BDRs, SDRs. Hi, Christopher, we just want to figure out what's keeping you awake at night. My God. So when you have a finite market, you can't have a too high burn rate. And I don't mean burn rate in terms of money, but you can't burn bridges. You need to build bridges. So the combination of marketing and sales is pivotal. Not aggressive lead gen, BDRs, demos with low-level people, and then trying to work from that. Doesn't work. So I'll share with you what we kind of ended up with. How can we make this light? I'll go very fast. So the first piece is actually a scalable way of doing account intelligence, the stakeholder map with photos, the layers, because very senior salespeople don't have time to do that. They intellectually know it's key, but they don't do it because they don't have time. It's not that they don't know, they don't have time. So we want to take away stuff from the best people. And this account intelligence is also a map for marketing and sales to collaborate around. And the other component is to add media coverage to the most important accounts that we're dealing with, both through ads, videos, etc., and with 4 techniques. One is targeting exact individuals with an overlay we created on Instagram and Facebook. The second one is targeting IP numbers, which I invented 2007. Some people know that I created the first ABM company in the world. Targeting the IP numbers of the specific companies, but also targeting the locations of the buildings using Facebook and Instagram. And the third one is really good also for targeting the chairman. So we helped a company grow to 20x their deal with H&M. And there was one leadership team member they couldn't get hold of. So we just figured out, where does he live? Okay, put a geofence around his house, started dropping content. And then eventually they got the meeting, and he was like, yeah, I've heard a lot about you. So we recently started working with Microsoft. We mainly work with medium-sized companies, but we do work with some like Tata, Microsoft, and others, Hitachi Energy. And we just saw in our tools that they were checking us out. We didn't call them. We just, like Sauron's eye, moved the media machinery, targeting Microsoft in Sweden, this was. Didn't do anything. 2 months later, an email came from their CMO saying, so the problems you're talking about, we've tried to solve for 7 years. We've used experts from Seattle, we've used consultants, agencies, platform. We can't get marketing and sales to work around our most important deals and our most important accounts. It doesn't work. It's just campaigns. Can you come and meet us? She even wrote, unless you overquote, we will engage you. So I came there, and on the way to the meeting, it was myself and a colleague. It was 5 people going, hi, Christopher. Hi, Christopher. And she asked me, do you know them? No, but I think they know me. Because they had been so exposed with our media machinery that they recognized me by name even. And that's one of the tricks, not just use media, promote the company and the key individuals to that particular account. So when they front the client, they're seen as superstars. You get this elevated effect. And then coming into the room, they spent the first 15 minutes describing why they should buy from us. I was like, is this candid camera? I've had the same experience with Maersk. So if you want to win medium-sized and large accounts, media can play a really big role. Anyway, a mix of insightful content, videos, just statements, etc. I can talk hours about that. And also producing and giving the sales team the support of telling which accounts are really engaged and not, and also showing it on a personal level. And I want to make a few other points before wrapping up. So most companies are focusing too much on revenue. And especially, so I know some of you are from the SaaS community. SaaS companies are, not all of you, but I've seen many SaaS companies unfocused in their strategy. And there's a lot of PLG, like product-led growth. That's all fine. But if you want to do enterprise, that's not fine. It doesn't work. We can have a meeting about that. And another thing, the point of this picture is that most companies are looking at only the revenue numbers. You need to look at the dominance as well. Because if you can dominate the category and the segment, you get a tremendous proportion of the world's shareholder value. Some people claim it's about 76%. So 76% of the global not revenue, shareholder value ends up with the category and segment winner. So there's big things on the table. And by focusing on both, and I can talk about that 2 more hours, but let's just skip it quickly. And we also create and to get it to scale, we create a playbook. We won't go through this, but the playbook for the client that they can gradually consume. And we also engage the leaders into our community of sales leaders and marketing leaders and CEOs, where they exchange, like you've probably done in the pause, exchange ideas, etc. I want to make a big cliffhanger. So a key when dealing with larger organizations, so skip the persona piece. It's just adding complexity. It doesn't scale well. But it's even more important, way more important, I would say, to look at the hierarchical differences than the role differences. I would even claim that a persona-based communication is tearing apart the initiative. You want to unite them. So, and ping me, Christopher@megadis.com, and I'll send you a video, a 1-hour video on this alone, how to build the messaging that works for owners, board, C-level, VP, director, and down, all the way down to Stefan on floor -5. Connect with me. I gladly, there's my email, I gladly email you links to way more insights, both on the whole discipline. There's a 22-minute video. And then on the thing with the skyscraper, the messaging architecture, as we call it. And also how we do the go-to-marketing strategy workshops. And also the last piece, which is this downsized version that we talked about. Where are we on the steep end of the law of diminishing returns? How can we get this going without breaking the back of the companies? Thank you so much.